welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. This is part 2 of my Beach Guitarist series, and in this video we're going to be painting the woman and working on her hair. So the app that we're using is Sketchable for Windows, and if you're following along traditionally at home, acrylic painting and pastel pencils will probably work the best for this painting, and you can check out part 1 in this series for a list of the materials that I use. So here I'm working on the beach scene again still, and I'm adding a little bit of purple to the beach sand here to make it look like the shadows, because the sun is behind her, so the shadow is going to be cast right in front of her. And I'm using the pastel tool in this program. It makes a really nice grainy look for the sand, and then I'm blending it in there. And then here I want to start on her dress, and her dress is white, but because it's in shadow it's going to look blue. So I'm starting with kind of a light grayish blue, and if you're following along with acrylic paint, ultramarine blue will work with a lot of white in it and some burnt sienna to give it a gray look. And for the flesh color, she's going to be in shadow also, so we kind of want a darker flesh color, and so you can use orange tones and put in some blue on it and maybe even some purple and just kind of mix them together there. We don't want real bright light flesh tones, not real bright light orange look. We kind of want it toned down a little bit. And for the hair also, we want to add kind of a yellow ochre color to the hair, and just kind of add darker strands around the edges of her face. And then here on her guitar, we want it to be a dark yellow ochre look, and just make it, it could be black, but I don't think it is. I think it's a yellow ochre looking guitar, a light wood, but it looks really dark in the shadows here. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do, is make it this color. So I went ahead and just filled that in on the guitar. Now we've got everything kind of underpainted, and as you can see, you can turn the sketch off to see, how your underpainting is looking. And underpainting is just kind of the first layer. That's what you call it when you're painting with acrylics or oils. It's just the first layer. And so here I'm just kind of working on her dress a little bit, and the sandals. And the sandals are kind of a dark brown, almost black color. So I'm just kind of drawing those in. You can't see real big details on them, so I'm just kind of adding in that color. And then there's a little bit of a shadow under her guitar, and then the edge of her guitar is probably black or a really dark brown or deep red color. So you can just go ahead and use a really dark orange to give it the dark brown look. And then here I'm just kind of looking through the brushes, and you can change the settings and see what you want there on them. And I'm just kind of looking through to see which ones I want. As I said in my previous video, I haven't been using Sketchable a lot lately, especially since they really changed their interface several months ago. And so I'm kind of in a learning curve on this video, and which is one of the reasons that I did this, was so that I could learn Sketchable better. And so I'm just kind of working on her eyes here and the shadows under her chin. I'm using sort of dark brown colors and dark reds, dark oranges, because she's in the shadow here. The sun is behind her, so she's going to be in the shadow. And I'm throwing in some purple here and just kind of blending it in. And you could probably use a burnt umber color if you're following along with your acrylics, and just darker browns if you're following along with pastels. And you might switch to your pencils now if you're following along with pastels. And then I'm just kind of darkening the edges of her hair here. And you can use a darker brown for that. And I just kind of want to do that so that I can make lighter strands on the top of that. So I'm just kind of working around on the different sides of her hair here. And then I kind of decided that her hair was a little bit too big, so I went back and added some sky color here. And this is how you would do it if you were working traditionally. You would just kind of paint over it. And then I added some more purple and a little bit of off-white to the clouds. And since the clouds are not real detailed, you can get away with changing this, and then you just kind of go back and smear in the clouds and smooth them out and make them look real fluffy and diffuse looking. And I'm working a little bit on the shadows of her face here and adding a little bit of dark brown. And as you can see, those are the brush controls. I'm just kind of trying to get just playing around with the brushes, seeing what I can do with them, because like I said, I'm not real familiar with Sketchable. And just to be clear, I'm saying Sketchable, not Sketchbook. Sketchable is a Windows app, Windows painting app that's created mostly for Windows Touch tablets and Windows Touch laptops. And then here I'm adding the highlights to the hair, and you can add a really light yellow color here, and I'm smoothing it out. And this is what you have to do in this program. It does have one brush that blends in the paint category, but mostly you have to add your strokes and then use the blending tool. The blending tool is the one that's sticking up right now. It's the one that looks like a blending stump, if you're familiar with that in the traditional art. And again, I'm using Pure Ref for my photo reference window because this program doesn't have a photo reference window. PureRef is a free program that you can download, and it just floats above all your other programs. And I use it a lot, and it comes in very handy. And then here I'm just kind of working on her face again. I want to work on the shadows on her nose and just trying to kind of get the shape of the nose and her cheekbones along here, and just kind of adding darker flesh colors, sort of darker browns. If you're using acrylics at home, a burnt sienna color maybe, kind of, and use your thin brush. And then I'm working on the shadows a little bit by the hair. That just kind of, this is how you shape your face, is you kind of use the hair to shape her face and the shadows. And I'm adding some purple there and darker oranges, dark browns for the shadows along her face and under her hair and on her neck. And I'll have to go ahead and use the blend tool here in a minute to smooth these out. And also add a little bit of that in her hair. And then I had to stop it for a minute and start the program again. And so I went ahead and continued where I left off here. So I'm just working more on the face again, trying to get the features right, and adding a little bit of highlight to the nose. And you could add kind of a light peach color, light oranges. You don't want it too bright because, again, she's in the shadow right here. So I'm trying to add like darker colors, darker purples here, and just kind of on her flesh right there, just to give it a more of a shadow look here. And then you can go ahead and add some of the browns along here to make sure that it's not too pink or purplish looking, and then just go ahead and kind of smudge them in right here. And you can adjust the smudge controls, make it bigger, smaller, and so I'm just working on that a little bit right here. And I'm using mostly the paint category for this. And like I said, you can adjust the textures on this. You can adjust all kinds of different things, and save them as custom brushes if you want to. There's 8 presets that you can just use, but then you can go ahead and create your own if you want to. So here I'm just kind of adding a little bit more of the highlights to her hair, just trying to get it that look, because she has her hair falling over her eye on that one side there. And so I'm trying to get that look there, and making individual strands here, and you can do that by just making the diameter of the brush really small and using one of the paint brushes. I guess you could also use the pencil brush and some of the inks if you want to, but the paint kind of gives it a softer edge. If you use the pins and stuff, you get a little bit of a harder edge. And then I'm just adding a little bit of darker hair here where it's in shadow, and just kind of working in that area and pulling more hair down over her eye, because she's looking down at her guitar, so the hair is falling over that one eye. And that just kind of adds character to the painting and makes it look neat. That's one of the reasons that I liked it. So this is the end of part 2 of my Beach Guitarist series, and in part 3 we're just going to continue more work on the figure, work some more on the guitar and her arms and the dress, and just continue refinements to the figure. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to see the next part, hit the subscribe button, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below, and I will catch you later.